Welcome to Integrated. This is the podcast where we seek to bridge the gap between the intellect and the will so that we can grow as disciples of Christ, surrendering all that we are and all that we have to the truth. Hey, this is my first time back in forever, and I just got distracted trying to send another message to Brick. So what I was going to say, Brick, when my intro caught me off guard because it finished was, guess who's back again. Angela's back. Anyway, this is what I get. I had one beer, not even one beer, and I figured I'm recording for the first time in over a month and a half. So I'm pretty excited about it, and thought I would just jump on here to say hi to you guys and see what's up. I've seen some of you like Brick. Brick, you were just on Enoch's show. And also, sorry if I clear my throat a little bit. I do still have a sore throat a little bit. So anyway, I am still slightly sick, but not really, especially not compared to the fever I ended up with on Easter, which was super fun. So hey, Darren, everyone else. Hey, Mac. I love you, Mac. Yes, inebriated Angela is back, I guess. But not really. I just have had one beer, and this week has been amazing. I think because I finally am starting to feel better, but also because the sun is finally shining. I have a sunburn from the last few days. We had a blizzard a week and a half ago here in Minnesota and got like a foot of snow. And it's been 80 degrees the last 3 days here in Minnesota. In fact, there's still snow on the ground, especially where it's been piled up from plows and stuff. But there was still snow on the ground and it was 80 degrees. So anyway, I am just very grateful to finally be feeling better, to be feeling more like myself for the most part, and to be enjoying all the sunshine. I definitely needed it. We had the longest winter ever in existence. I'm pretty sure in human history. And I would never be hyperbolic about that ever. It was the longest ever. It was longer than the Ice Age, I'm pretty sure. So really good to see you guys. I would love for you guys to comment and tell me how your Lent went, because my Lent was kind of forced in some ways. God gives us what we need. I told myself that I would sort of step away from my podcast over Lent. And then certain interviews kept getting scheduled during Lent based on other people's schedules and all kinds of stuff. And so I figured, okay, well, I need to get this done because I might not ever have a chance to do this interview again. Whatever. And then I ended up sick. And so then it didn't matter anyway. And I sort of feel like that was God saying, Angela, I know you said you were going to take Lent off, but then you weren't actually going to take it off. So I made sure you took Lent off. So my apologies to my patrons too, because I had started a study on St. Francis de Sales' Introduction to the Devout Life. Here, I still have it here on my desk. And I was going through parts of it. Margot, everyone's favorite Margot, was joining me the couple of weeks that I did it. And Lauren from Star of the Sea Gifts to talk about Introduction to the Devout Life. But I got too sick with this cold. I couldn't talk. I developed bronchitis because I have asthma, and for whatever reason, I didn't have an inhaler like a normal asthmatic. So yeah, I developed bronchitis, and it just devolved into being more and more sick. And then it sort of got to its worst point over Easter weekend because I don't think... Sorry, Darren, am I talking too fast? I'm just really excited to be here, you guys. I missed you. I feel like I'm going to have to put that one up on the screen. Sorry, I'll try to stop channeling my inner Ben Shapiro. So the slow talk. Maybe I need to work on my swarthy Italian accent. Maybe Margot would listen to me more if I channeled my inner Michael Knowles instead. I wasn't really able to talk for a long time. At least not for more than a couple sentences here and there. And I do still have a little bit of a sore throat. I kind of said that at the beginning, but yeah, I mean, on Easter weekend, I had a fever on Saturday and Sunday and had a horrible sore throat. I pretty much was in bed for 2 days straight and then started to recover on Monday. And my husband ended up taking Monday off because he got sick. So it feels like I haven't been able to talk for a long time, which also was pretty good, probably for me. Sometimes I say things I shouldn't. And so I just think God has all of these built-in mechanisms of purgation to remind me that I just need to shut up more and listen more, right? I always tell my kids, God gave you 2 ears and only 1 mouth. It's so that you talk less and you listen more. I'm sorry, Mac. Everybody pray for Mac's wife. She just got sick. There's a lot of stuff going around right now, that's for sure. And it's been nasty. I feel like everyone I know has been sick with something for the last couple of weeks at least, if not longer, like some of us. And enslaved by truth. I'm so sorry. I got COVID pneumonia really badly when I was pregnant with Veronica. And it almost landed me I almost said jail, but I meant the hospital, which I don't know, they kind of seem like the same place these days. So definitely praying for you enslaved by truth as well, because pneumonia is not fun at all for anybody. I remember being surprised at how much it hurt to try and breathe in deeply. So I hope you're getting some good stuff with like a nebulizer, or I know what helped me was a Z-Pak and budesonide. That was like the thing that worked for me. Anyway, really good to see you guys. Yes, Darren, I'll try and slow down. And I just wanted to pop on here and say that I do have a couple of upcoming interviews, and I'm hoping to make some changes to the podcast. There's Margot. Margot, here she is, the one and only Margot. Yeah, I wanted to let you know about a couple of changes coming up on the podcast. I probably will have a more regular weekly live show. I kind of have every once in a while done an Apostles' Creed, which I will do, but I might make that more of a weekly thing instead of just random. So I'm hoping to start doing that every week on Thursday afternoon, unless there's some sort of scheduling issue with kids stuff, but I will be doing a live on Thursday afternoons from now on. My Apostles' Creed. There's always so much to talk about. Yeah, Margot, you didn't miss much. I just talked really fast about how sick I've been for the last couple months or month and a half. You didn't miss much. It's not really been super exciting. But yeah, and yes, Supreme Crusader. I have to say, I'm so excited to see you back on Twitter because I didn't realize that you took it off for Lent. And all of a sudden I saw you on my Twitter again and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed my favorite non-Catholic. You're the best. And we can harp on you some more about converting. Repent and convert, Supreme Crusader. Come home. But anyway, yeah, there is so much sickness going on. Margot, I think you're sick right now, aren't you? So also pray for Margot. We should just have a prayer list here. Mac's wife, enslaved by truth, Margot. I think a lot of us are sick or recovering. It's been quite the Lent. So it was the lentiest of Lents, and I love Lent, but I'm kind of glad it's over. So anyway, I will be doing a weekly show. I will be doing my Apostles' Creed weekly now. Yeah, Margot has a horrible cough. I thought so. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. I do have an interview coming out soon with Mark from Tradmen, everyone's least favorite Tradmen. Just kidding. But we talk about his experience with infertility in his life. So I think that's going to be a really good interview. I don't think that's something many people talk about very often, especially from the perspective of men. And so I'm hoping to get that one published by next week, now that I can finally record an introduction for it. And then Yeah, just a screen roll of everyone basically. Everyone be praying for everybody for health. Hopefully the sun will help a lot and just the warmth. I I agree. Mark is awesome. We all joke that Jason is the favorite Tradman because Margot prefers Jason over Mark. um so anyway, I have this great interview. I love Mark. He's so much fun to talk to, and he's just the real deal. Like, what you see is what you get, and I love that about Mark. um I also have an interview scheduled with Dr. Mary Eberstadt, and I don't know if you follow her work at all, but she is absolutely incredible. I can't believe that I'm going to be interviewing her. She's somebody that I had on my list before I even started the podcast that I wanted to interview because her work on the sexual revolution has been. Oh, Mark is your favorite? Oh, I'm sorry, Margot. I had that backwards. I don't know why I had that backwards. Um, sorry. So Mark really is the favorite Tradman. Um, anyway, so with Dr. Mary Eberstadt, she is just so incisive about feminism and the role of the sexual revolution on the de-evolution of the Western world, as well as how the West really lost God is a great book of hers. So I'm thrilled to be talking to her about feminism and how it has destroyed the world. I think singularly more than almost anything else. It is up there with the Protestant Revolution. No offense, Supreme Crusader. I love you. But also, I think those two events are kind of on par, which I find interesting. This is kind of a side note, but something I've thought about is I find it really interesting that especially modern Protestants really reject the role of Our Lady and the role of salvation history. And that she really is the embodiment of femininity. And Protestantism also ushered in a lot of the sexual revolution by embracing contraception and abortion. Yes, Mac, please. Thank you. Smack the like button if you are listening and you're enjoying the show. My little update. But yeah, so I do think that I find a lot of interesting parallels personally between the sexual revolution and the Protestant Revolution, because so much about our nature as human beings was misunderstood or sort of recast in a new light. And there were a lot of things that were embraced that were so counter to a Christian understanding of the human person for how long. So anyway, I'm excited to talk to her about that, and her work sort of highlights some of these themes. I don't think she's ever outright written about it or thought about it in that way, but she did just recently come out with a book called Revisiting Adam and Eve After the Pill, which was a great book of hers. I read it in my early 20s. So if you haven't, I'm just going to tell you right now, go get it. Go get her book, Adam and Eve After the Pill Revisited. And also get her book, How the West Really Lost God. It is so good. She talks about the breakdown of the family and that being why religion has been on the decline for so long. So support. Yes, it was a huge mistake to embrace birth control. But because, look at where we are now. You embrace birth control and you restructure society. You have women in the workforce en masse. They wouldn't be without contraception and abortion. You just can't have that. And I still have never had a pro-life feminist explain to me how you can be a pro-life feminist and also fight contraception and encourage women to be in the workforce and be mothers at the same time, but also reject contraception. And that's where pro-abortion, pro-choice people understand, or they intuit that you just can't have, sorry, I'm getting distracted by Kyle's thought here. European secular. It could maybe perhaps be, especially the Anglican bent of things. And I guess, yeah, a lot of those. Anyway, sorry, trying not to get too distracted. I have like ADHD, kind of. But anyway, so where was I? See, now I'm lost. I can't even look at this anymore. I can't look at the comment section. I need somebody to come in here and do my moderating, because yes, the very idea that birth control treats women's fertility as if it's a disease, yes, that's problematic, right? That's contrary to proper understanding of the human person, to teleology, the natural law. Sorry, I know, I'm trying. Um, but but really too, it also introduced a mindset that pregnancy itself is a disease. So it's not just that fertility is a disease, but pregnancy is sort of treated as a sexually transmitted disease. And it's sort of something that women, like most young women, fear pregnancy more than anything else in life. It's probably up there with public speaking. You know, a lot of people would rather die than do public speaking. For many people would much rather see snakes and do all that other stuff. And public speaking is the one thing that they would rather die than do. I sort of feel like that all these institutions that sort of promote contraception, the medical community, education, all these things, treat pregnancy as a sexually transmitted disease. So I think that, I should have Abby. I am surprised that Abby had a show or a long Facebook post about anti-feminism. It is something that really has split the movement in half. Pro-life feminists haven't been able to answer this with me. I posted something on my own Instagram, and Destiny De La Rosa, or what's her name? I can't remember her last name. She's from New Wave Feminists, but she commented on it and sort of kind of made it sound like, I wish feminism didn't have to exist, but here I am a feminist because I'm opposed to abuse and all these other things. And it's like, I am not a feminist, and I'm also opposed to domestic abuse. Like, it's not, these things can be mutually exclusive. They're not, that you don't have to be a feminist to be opposed to abuse in the home. It's just, I don't understand why I need to subscribe to this label to also be opposed to something like that, for example, or sex trafficking or whatever else. And yes, if you listen to the pro-boards, they act like pregnancy has a survival rate of Russian roulette with the 5 round. Yes, it's so true. I always laugh about how they always say that pregnancy is more dangerous than abortion, which is just not true. If that's the case, I would like to start introducing myself by saying that I am a pregnancy survivor 6 times over. It's like, I feel like a cat with 9 lives. I've survived. I have made it. I have arrived. I have survived. Instead of addressing the fact that, maternal mortality rates in the Western world, especially in the U.S., the U.S. has the worst maternal mortality rates in the entire Western world. And it's because of the interventions in hospital settings, most of that. So anyway, all of those things need to be said. Wow, that is not a tirade that I plan to go on tonight, but I'm happy about it. I'm here for it. Well, pregnancy is more dangerous than ever, according to Darren's sister, and she laughs in her face. So it could be in modern American medical field, because OB-GYNs are surgeons by trade. They're not really acquainted with physiological birth, and they're not trained to help women in labor, and the nurses too. I mean, yeah, it is somewhat off the rails, sorry. But that's the truth. I mean, they're trained surgeons. So C-sections are very wonderful for them because that's something they have a lot of control over. They can control the circumstances for the most part. And that's what that's what they were trained to do. I realized so much more of that when we decided to have a home birth with our 5th kiddo. We had 4 kids in the hospital, and I won't say that every experience was horrible. We did have some bad experiences, and I have friends who have children that are permanently disabled because of medical malpractice when they were in labor, which is a whole nother thing. I hope someday that she'll come on the show. But yeah, I mean, serious problems in the medical community, especially in the United States. The cascade of interventions is a real thing, and that does make pregnancy more dangerous, but that's labor. That's not pregnancy. Pregnancy itself is not dangerous, and the baby and mothers they're their bodies are united in a way that helps each other to grow. They pass cells between each other to help facilitate healing. There are so many incredible things about motherhood, even and because of that, those cells passing between each other, there's this thing called microchimerism, where if your children's cells exist within the woman's body, like the woman's body retains some of the cells of each of her children for a very long time after she delivers them. I just think that's really amazing, especially for those of us who have experienced miscarriage, for example. And I also think that that is a physiological manifestation of that motherly ache that we have after we've lost children. You sense it and you feel it in your bones. Like you know that somebody's missing or many children are missing. It's something that just exists as a part of your life, and it is expressed even in your very cell structure, which I think is amazing. So somebody's asking what a natural birth is. So a natural birth is a birth that has not had any interventions. So it would be like normally a vaginal birth, a normal physiological birth. So a natural birth would maybe be like an induction. I mean, that's how I would define it. I don't know if that's the exact terminology for sure. Not a cesarean. A cesarean would not be a natural birth. And those can be necessary sometimes. But there's a lot of times when they're not necessary. But they are selected for one reason or another. I won't get into all that. Maybe someday I'll have an episode on that. So I want to get caught up in some of these comments. Oh my gosh. Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, I didn't realize that Avoiding Babylon came here. Rob, if that's you, which I'm assuming it is, I just decided to go on tonight. It was very spontaneous. One epidural and regrets it. Yes. Yep. Oh, from your mom. Sorry, I'm like just getting caught up. Like I said, I need someone to come in here moderate. And I know Kyle kind of teased me earlier, but yeah, somebody needs to come on here and start moderating for me. But yeah, 8 natural births and swears by it. Every mother should have one. I actually really agree. I think one of the problems is I would like to write about this. If I were to write a book, wow, was not planning on talking about this tonight. I would like to write a book. And I've actually talked to a couple of publishers about possibly writing a book. And if I were to write a book, it would be about how various institutions have made women so afraid and unknowledgeable about their own nature that they resent and hate motherhood, mostly because they are so ill-equipped for it. You think about it, women are brought through an education system for however many years, at least 12 years, and then most of them go to college at a higher rate than men. So you're talking about at least another 2 to 4 years, sometimes more, of education. What is that education ordered towards? It's not ordered towards their vocation as a mother. It's definitely ordered towards a career. And in that time frame, many of these women are growing up in homes where their mothers are working. They come from maybe broken families. They come from small families. So they don't have a lot of exposure to other children and things like that. Their exposure is almost exclusively with other kids their own age, which is so unusual in the course of human history. It's not normal to pretty much always only be with people your own age, especially as you're growing. It really hinders, I think, social skills, which is the irony of homeschooling. People always accuse you of, or wonder if your children are going to be socially awkward. I actually would argue that children who go to a public school setting are more awkward because they only exist amongst their peers. They rarely interact in a meaningful way with adults, as well as young children or infants. So anyway, all of that to say, from an educational perspective, these women are not taught how to be mothers. They don't go to school for that. They go to school for a career. Their family life is as such that they're also not learning this basic skills for motherhood. Many women don't even wash their own laundry for the first time, don't wash their own laundry until they go to college. That's the first time many of us, myself included, wash their laundry for the first time. Many of them don't know how to cook or do basic homemaking skills. They're not prepared for motherhood. And then they get pregnant eventually, many of them. And the prospect of trying to learn how to do these different skills that they haven't mastered yet, on top of probably, hopefully, being a wife, which is a whole nother thing that they're learning how to do. And especially if they come from a broken home background, they haven't seen a healthy marriage, probably. So they're trying to navigate that learning. And then somebody hands them a baby. It's like Jim Gaffigan talking about what it's like to have so many kids. It's like swimming in a pool and somebody hands you a baby when you get to a certain number, even though I disagree with that. But that's kind of what it's like. It's like women are sort of raised in an environment where they're so ill-equipped, and then somebody hands them a baby. And not only that, but the medical field really fails women in terms of teaching them about their bodies, how their bodies work, how their children's bodies work, giving them actually evidence-based care. They don't often do that. A lot of the care that's offered today is very dated. And that's a whole nother issue I could talk about. But even so, pretty much from the moment a woman gets pregnant, I mean, calling it a fetus, many providers will, even going so far as like through birth, they take your baby away right away, pretty much, to do all the measurements, everything. It just seems to me like society is set up separating women from their children before she's even pregnant. Like that's how they're creating a divide between women and their children, pitting them against each other. You see that with abortion. That's exactly what abortion is. All of that stuff. And then postpartum, they give them medical advice postpartum, like sleep training and all of these things, making it seem like these children are supposed to be so much more independent. And I think a lot of that stuff is really so that women feel more at ease going back to work, right? So they'll tell you that it's not normal for your baby to wake up so many times at night. Or like me with my oldest, she was sleeping through the night very early, and that was high praises were sung. She was sleeping through the night by 3 weeks old, and that should have been a red flag that something was wrong, because something was wrong. She had like major oral tie issues and stuff, and she wasn't nursing properly. And so that should have been a red flag, and instead it was praised. And so in the meantime, for several years down the road, we're having all these other issues that people can't explain. My pediatrician's kind of writing them off. Oh, she's just a little quirky or something. And it turned out, yeah, I mean, she is kind of quirky. She's a little girl, but also she has serious things going on with her brain development that need help, and she's having physiological issues with her mouth and retained primitive reflexes, needs occupational therapy, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was exhausting. So anyway, I just feel like, but also I was told to start feeding her at like 3 months old. Well, why? She shouldn't be eating solids at 3 months old. That's not physiological. That's not appropriate for her development or anything. There's just so much intervention, and it really does feel to me like so much of it is ordered towards making it easier for moms, quote unquote, so she can go back to work, and so that the children and her are separated, instead of establishing a really strong bond. Like that's at the core of it. These things really disrupt having a good solid bond between the mother and the child, which will benefit society so much more on a macro level. There's this really great book. One of my favorite psychology books that I've ever read was called Born for Love: Why Empathy is Essential and Endangered. Highly recommend it. And it was so eye-opening to me, because you just see how important it is for those children to form proper bonds at such an early age. I mean, a baby doesn't even know that they're a different person from the mother when they're first born. For several months, they don't actually understand that they're a different person. Their bodies naturally co-regulate. So if the mother is is upset, like the baby's probably going to sense that she's upset and the baby's going to be stressed and vice versa. And so it's really important that they're together a lot so they can co-regulate and calm each other down. Even a mother's skin, one of the important things about skin to skin contact is that it helps regulate the baby's temperature. That's one of the things that it's really important for. And of course, being able to smell the baby, increasing oxytocin and to strengthen those bonds. But in a hospital setting, often the baby is whisked away, the baby is swaddled up. The swaddles are also horrible for cognitive development for babies. Um, it's just, there's so many issues. So anyway, if I were to write a book, it would be about how the medical field has really disrupted the bond between mother and children and made motherhood so much more overwhelming than it should be. Education system has done the same thing. Broken families have done the same thing. And at the end of the day, it's no surprise that women would much rather go to work than try to be a mother because motherhood is tough and no one prepared them for such a job. So Margot, Margot wants the book. Margot wants the book. I still need to send an outline to somebody. We'll see. Maybe I'll pitch it at a couple more publishers. One of the publishers, I just couldn't do it because we had to front so much money to do it, which I get, but also we have 5 small children. I cannot front an exorbitant amount of money to do that. So anyway, that's the book I would like to write. I don't know why I started talking about that. Margot, if you've got ins with Sophia, let me know. You've got ins with everybody. But anyway, I will be going back to the Apostles' Creed. I would like to do that once a week. I'm going to put it in my weekly calendar so I can make it happen instead of whenever I feel like it, like this spontaneous stream. I'm going to be also interviewing Jeremiah Bannister soon about his book that I think he's finally done with the book. And I think it's pretty much ready for publication, but his wife, Angela, just had a kiddo when was it? 2 weeks ago now? Something like that. And it was a difficult delivery. So if you could also pray for the Bannister family, that would be wonderful. But I'm excited to bring that one to you as well. So Mark from Tradman, Dr. Mary Eberstadt, Jeremiah Bannister. I just interviewed Frank DeVito. He is a lawyer from the Napa Institute Legal, I believe, but he also is a writer for the American Conservative, First Things, and some other publications. And we had a really great interview about his conversion story and also the importance of discernment and what that means, what that actually looks like, and why most people overcomplicate discernment and the whole process. So I think you guys are going to like that one. It's another really practical episode that ties the intellect and the will together really well and brings it to you in a way that you should totally be able to relate with and understand well. Is she doing much better? Okay, good. I reached out to Jeremiah. I wasn't sure how he didn't respond, so I just wasn't sure how that was going. Yeah, self-publishing is kind of the new publishing, and I wouldn't totally be opposed to it. Part of me, though, I feel like I need a deadline to get something published because I'm a horrible procrastinator. I'm the worst when it comes to that. GoFundMe. You are super sweet. You are really funny. Thank you. Yeah, so I have Haley. I've been talking to Tim Flanders about publishing it through, oh my goodness, Our Lady of Victory Press. I'm thinking about it. We'll see. Did I get my Christmas ornament done in my downtime? No, but I did learn how to use my sewing machine. So not the same thing at all. But, I'm learning more of the feminine skills. I just figured I'm going to start doing the rest of the stuff. But I actually will have more time to do stuff like that here soon. I'm really excited to figure out more of the stitching and sewing and things like that. Because that's a skill set I haven't mastered. I've mastered the sourdough. I have mastered kombucha and some other homemaking skills, but sewing is not one. Give, send, go. Oh yeah. So anyway, does anyone have any last minute questions? I guess this is the time to just open it up. I have a beer to finish, and if I still end up staying here, I do have another one from Trevor. Yeah, we should do that. Another Stitch and Beach. We haven't called it that, but I like it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, honestly, you guys, if you like my work at all, you can support my work on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And honestly, I have one of my patrons had to decrease their monthly giving level because of some circumstances, and they were one of my biggest patrons, so it was kind of tough. I'm almost cutting even on my monthly expenses right now. But if you guys are interested in supporting my work, head over to my Patreon and I can put a link in the description when I get done with this. Otherwise, I can see if maybe I can post it here on the chat. But I really could use some patrons. I'm just not even going to lie about that. I would really appreciate any support I can get over there. Yes, Christ is risen indeed. I feel like I need to respond to that. Yes, Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. And I do need to put my stuff on Spiritus TV. I actually do have an account on there, and while I was sick, I was trying to put stuff over on there, and for whatever reason, it wasn't uploading properly. I have one video on there. And so I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong when I do my bulk uploads. And yes, now that Bud Light is taking a plunge, I totally agree with you. Trevor needs to capitalize on this and put out some real good Catholic beer. and that's super funny. You guys should go to Avoiding Babylon and get their mugs, which make fun of me. Because if you're new here, you maybe don't know, but bourbon is my normal drink of choice for my evening shows, especially when I'm on Avoiding Babylon's trivia, which you guys need to get back to trivia. I miss losing at trivia. I miss Darren beating everyone into oblivion on trivia and me embarrassing myself. I also will say that in my interview tonight, I got to use the word concupiscence in a way that made sense. And I gave a shout out to you guys on my podcast. So anyway, go check out Avoiding Babylon. Go to their store, buy their merch, especially the merch that makes fun of me. I'm totally fine with that. And if you want to support my work over on Patreon, I would love to have you join me over there. Yeah, you need to get Anthony back on trivia. That's seriously, like, that's the OG Avoiding Babylon. You can't just walk away from that. How dare you? How dare you grow, Rob? So disappointed in you guys. And Margot's been getting on Anthony's case with trivia too, so I like it. I really, really like it. Bye, Brick. Hope you sleep well. It's good to see you tonight. Yeah, and maybe at some point I will move over to another platform. I know some people don't like Patreon. As a creator, Patreon is really helpful. I can also take one-time gifts on my website as well. I did also put it in integration so people can give one-time gifts. I know some people that works better. And so you're also welcome to head to my website and give on the PayPal there for a donation. I also would super appreciate that. Patreon is nice because you kind of know what you're getting every month. And so you can decide whether or not you want to, say, for example, pay to start sending email campaigns. You can sort of budget for that a little bit better. But those one-time gifts also are super nice. I've had a couple of you guys who have just been incredibly generous with that. And I've just been very humbled by the support. So thank you. You guys know who you are. Let's see. Andre Marie was on the Meaning of Catholic. I didn't know that. And for those of you also, maybe you don't know, but I'm a contributor occasionally over on the Meaning of Catholic as well. I have a show called The Ascent with Nick Cavazos, the traditional Thomist. We started doing the show together recently, and it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully next week we can get back into that. Like I said, I was sick for about 6 weeks straight, and so we haven't recorded anything in a long time, but I'm finally feeling better. So Anyway, really, really excited to see you guys. I almost said beat you guys because I was reading this. Sorry. It's really good to see you guys. I've missed talking to you. Oh, that's really nice. Thank you. That's really nice. Thank you. I'm glad that you've been enjoying the show. We've talked about the SSPX. We talked about whether or not Joe Biden is a real Catholic or if he should be excommunicated, basically. And we have some other really good episodes to talk about soon. I won't say what we're going to talk about because we haven't decided exactly on the next episode, but they're good, very controversial issues. So I think you're going to like it. And Darren, what is our next cross-stitch project? I don't know. You have to tell me. I think you're going to get a Christmas in July ornament of Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal cross-stitch. I have no idea. What you tell me, and I will buy the cross-stitch pattern, and we will do it. Make an offensive sign for the next cross-stitch. That's funny. He explained a lot of people misunderstand what happened with Father Feeney. He was never a heretic. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I have heard not good things about Father Feeney. And I don't know. I don't know enough about that branch of things. So I will have to go back and listen. Are we trading? I don't know. Should we just choose our own cross stitches I think this is what we should do. And this actually would help me finish it if I knew that somebody was sending me one and I had to send them one. We should just low key pick a cross stitch pattern and we should just send it to each other without telling each other what we did, and we can do a reveal another time. I think that would be really funny. We should do that. No, we don't have to. No, I just wanted to send it to you because it has taken me forever to do it. And I wanted to prove to you that I did it. I don't know. I don't know what I would be getting. That would be cool. Okay. I know that maybe this is a little infantile, but I would love to have a sign for my logo in my office somewhere. I really need to reorganize this space. You can't see everything up here, but it is a mess. I need a lot of work done in my office. That's something I would like to do someday. Hey, Nick, I was just talking about you in our show together on The Meaning of Catholic. For those of you who are wondering who the traditional Thomist is, it is the one and only Nicholas Cavazos. He is right here. And yes, he also knows that I have an affinity for bourbon. Although I will say, you guys, out of all the beers that I've tried from Tridentine Brewing, this Empress Zeta, I think, has actually been my favorite. It's really good. And I don't normally like imperial ales at all. That's just not my thing. So yes, Mac, I like that idea. I also like this idea. So we'll see if anyone else and Supreme Crusader, I might have to do it. See, look at the love here. This is just such a great group of people. It's nice to see you guys. It is an imperial red. Yeah. So, and I usually like amber. So this is just not, it's similar, but it's not usually the kind of thing I like. No, that is so not true. Okay. Anyone who has ever come to The Meaning of Catholic and has listened to our show knows, Nicholas, that you are the backbone. I just make comments here and there, but Nicholas is so thorough and organized about how he approaches each topic. It's a pleasure to just listen to him, even as a co-host on the show. I'm really grateful that you've started joining me on the show. I really appreciate that. Cross stitch. Oh, that would be fun. See, now we're getting ideas. I'm gonna We're gonna have to start doing this stuff and like selling them for a good cause or something, Darren. We should do it as a fundraiser, or something. Um, thanks. I appreciate the love on the ascent. I'm excited. Nicholas, maybe we should decide what our next episode is going to be, and we should do an episode next week. I think that would be good. I'm finally well enough that I can actually talk for a while, so I'm excited about that. I was so excited, in fact, that I was talking at a rate of, twice the speed of Ben Shapiro when I first came on here. The cause will be to get my book published. Yeah. It would, honestly, that would be like a dream of mine. It's a little bit vulnerable, I will say, just as a writer. I don't write as much as I would like to, but I think part of that is because writing is really vulnerable. You're putting stuff in black and white, and you don't know who's going to read it. You don't know how people are going to receive it. There are always people who misconstrue what you're saying, or you're afraid of hurting people. It's writing. I have so much respect for people who are published authors and are selling this stuff. It's a lot of work, and it's very vulnerable. It's like your child and your heart. It's like you're exposing your heart to the world, I think. That's super funny. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have any other questions. It's really fun to just randomly chat with you guys tonight. Yeah, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to fire away. I'm just gonna finish this beer and think about what I'm gonna do tomorrow. It's been so nice this week having warm weather. I actually have some sunburn. You can't see it super well here, but it's on my shoulders and my back a little bit. My arms, I actually kind of had hives a little bit. You can see it's pretty red there. I'm not used to the sunlight anymore. I'm kind of like a vampire, but I have been soaking up the sun the last few days, and it has been a real blessing. So I hope that if you are in a climate where it's sunny, you're soaking it in too. I don't know if I'm just saying that because I live in Minnesota and it has been the longest winter in, I swear, history. I don't even think I'm being hyperbolic. It's been a really long winter, so the sun has been a godsend. Make an inebriated, that's okay. I will look forward to seeing that. All right, Nicholas. Question. You can only have one alcoholic beverage for the rest of your life. What would it be? That's a good question. It's interesting because I gave up alcohol for Lent. And I did have, a couple Sundays. I had like a Bloody Mary and I did have some bourbon when I was trying to recover just as a hot toddy, but obviously that's different than enjoying a drink. If I were to have one drink for the rest of my life, it probably would be an old fashioned. It is my favorite drink. And I'm not even so picky about the bourbon. I like Maker's Mark. What else was I drinking? I've had some really good bourbons. I was just drinking like a Woodford Reserve, I think. That one was pretty good. I have several bottles of bourbon right now in my house, so that's probably what I would drink. Temp drops. Yeah, I know temps are dropping here too. I'm really bummed about it. I'm trying not to think about it, but I'm really, really bummed about it. And oh, you won't be in the live chats. Going to see Michael Knowles' speech and spending a week with friends, but I will catch up. Well, Margot, I hope you have so much fun. Are you going to the presentation or speech he was doing that where the Harvard professor just backed out of it? Or is that the one you're going to? Yes, the old fashioned. That's where it's at. And yeah, of course you guys are. You guys live in the Antarctic, like not Antarctica, but like the northern Arctic Circle, I should say. Yeah, of course you're getting snow. You guys live in the tundra. Oh, the Pittsburgh one. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that goes. I hope he finds somebody to replace that Harvard professor that is, believes in good debate and then backs out of the event. So I thought that was pretty interesting. This beer is getting warm. Warm beer is not my favorite. Warm beer is not the drink that I would have for the rest of my life. I'll just say that. And you're getting lunch with Michael the next day. That's super awesome. Like, Margot, I hope when I grow up, I'm as cool as you. Margot just knows everybody. And that's super awesome. Yeah, exactly. Margot will be in paradise next week. That's just super. That's really cool. I think that's great. So, okay, you guys. Tell Michael. Yes, I know. I want to say that. Okay, so Nicholas is saying what every podcaster on here is thinking. Margot, we want to talk with Michael Knowles. I feel like Michael Knowles is basically my brother from another mother. I did just say that. And I think he and I could be best friends. I'm just saying, especially sweet little Elise. So the way he talks about his wife, I think we should be best friends. Anyone doing the walk to Mary? We are. I'm not. But maybe I should. I don't actually really know what the walk to Mary is. So Mac, if you could tell me, maybe I've heard of it. I feel like I've heard of it, but I'm not. I'm kind of drawing a blank and I'm kind of embarrassed about it. So yeah, I think it would be super cool to interview Michael Knowles. I loved the interview that he just did recently about I think he interviewed a former witch. Basically, she was an occultist and she had this drastic conversion to some sort of, I believe, evangelical Christianity, but he he did his job. He asked her when she was going to become Catholic. So that made me laugh. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed that interview actually. So if you haven't listened to that one, it's pretty long. It's like a 2-hour long interview, I think. But her perspective comports actually with a lot of the things that I've talked about with some of the guests I've interviewed. She talks about her experience in the occult and how it basically just made her want to die. And that was something that my friend Melody Lyons said about her experience in the occult, was that it basically made her want to die because she just wanted to disappear into the divine oneness. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something to that effect. And she was just in so much pain and suffering, and she had these real mystical experiences, and they just threw her into complete and utter despair when she returned back to normal life and existence. So anyway, and Dan Burke said basically the same thing about Eastern spiritualities and practices on my podcast when I talked to him about meditative prayer and why Catholics should really reject Eastern derivatives of mental meditative prayer, which has become pretty pervasive in a post-Vatican II world. Kind of this desire to sort of take what's supposedly good from other religions and syncretize them into Catholicism, even when they don't comport with Catholic teaching or Catholic tradition. So yeah, their divine oneness is a demonic inverse of both. Yes, 100%. That's such a great point. It is an inverse of both the Trinity and divine simplicity. And it's about making yourself a God. And we just aren't gods. It's not a part of our nature. So you can only trick yourself for so long. Yeah, Supreme Crusader. Demonic influences are very real among us. I've witnessed that firsthand. I don't know if I've shared on my show or if it was somebody else's show, but I mean, I've seen real manifestations of the demonic. When I was a kid, I actually used to see demons, kind of as you might hear exorcists describe a more common occurrence. Normally, you don't see exactly what they look like, but kind of the shadowy figures of bodies. I saw those as a kid. Um, and there were different reasons for that. I think there were just different things going on in the environment that I was in. Um, and yeah, it was terrifying. It was really scary, especially as a child. So, but I have also had good, positive mystical experiences as well. But I remember one time I was in college. I've always been pretty sensitive to, sorry, my throat is starting to act up. I've been pretty sensitive to the spiritual life, even since I was a child, and just intuiting the state of other people's soul, kind of. Not totally, but my intuition is usually really good on this issue. And because of that, I think sometimes the demonic, it will try and freak you out if it knows that you have an inclination for that. And so I remember one time in college, a woman sat down next to me. She looked very normal. And I had gone from living in the Twin Cities and working in one of the worst parts of St. Paul. I worked in Midway. For those of you who are familiar with Minnesota, Midway is sketchy. And I used to ride the buses home from Midway, the metro, back to my college campus after midnight. I mean, so I saw some pretty weird stuff and some weird people. But when I moved up to St. Cloud, which is a little bit better, but not totally, I would ride the metro there because I didn't have a car. And this woman came to me and she sat right next to me. She looked very normal. She had curly hair, kind of like reddish brown curly hair, and she was wearing sunglasses. She looked very well put together. And so I didn't really at first kind of think anything of it. It's just another person coming to sit on the bus next to me. It wasn't full though. There were definitely other open seats, but she sat right next to me. And she all of a sudden started saying under her breath these horrible things about like what a horrible, evil, what a bad person I was, how ugly I was, and all kinds of stuff. It just sent chills through my whole body. And I was certain that this woman was possessed. And I remember the first thing I did, I ran off the bus, and I happened to live across from the Newman Center on campus. And I just instantly walked right into the church because I felt like, oh, I needed a spiritual shower. And even the Newman Center was the worst Newman Center I've ever seen in my life. But even that was a refuge from this thing that I just had been with. It was weird because some of the things she was saying were things that I had been struggling with in my interior life. So I just knew it wasn't like, oh, she has some mental illness. It was, this woman has knowledge that she shouldn't have, and this is scary. This is creepy. It was really interesting. So anyway, the demonic is definitely real manifestation. Believe that. I've also had very profound experiences with holiness. I have a friend that has a first class relic of Saint Gemma Galgani, and don't ask how they got it. It's not the best story in terms of how the parish that they got it from sort of handled that situation, but they're good, faithful Catholics. So I'm at least glad that they have it. Anyway, the first time I saw this relic, I was so overcome with, I don't know if you've ever been overwhelmed with the whole, like, Holy Spirit or just holiness in general. I had no idea who she was or anything. I didn't know anything about her story, but I was dumbfounded, literally dumbfounded. I couldn't talk. It was almost like, it washed over me and just took hold of all of my senses, and everything was suspended. And I just remember thinking, whoever this is, she's incredible. I don't know who this is. Obviously she's a saint. I get that, but you can have interactions with different saints and not be impacted the same way. It was incredible. And I just feel ever since that she has been a sister with me on my journey. So anyway, I just we live in a spiritual world, and so this is just Sally. That's amazing. Converted by an encounter with Christ in the Eucharist. That is so beautiful. What a gift. What a gift. That's incredible. And I love that you use the heart emoji with the flames. I just always think of his Sacred Heart when I see that. So that's really amazing. Yeah, if you guys have had experiences yourselves, let's hear it. The only really mystical experience I've had with God definitely reshaped my life. The spiritual life is a real thing. Yeah. Um, no, Margot, I think the mystical experiences are supposed to be, I think, for some of us consolations, or there are different reasons for them, and we can't. It's not like we're doing anything wrong or good. It has nothing to do with even our interior life necessarily. I think when I was a child, my mom has told me this story about me fishing her rosary out from under her bed. My mother always sleeps with a rosary under her pillow, and so occasionally it falls underneath her bed. And when I was quite young, she had me fish it out from under the bed while she was making her bed one morning, and I was looking at the metal on it, and my mom asked me casually, "Oh, do you know who that is?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I've seen her." And my mom kind of paused. And she said, "Oh, really? Yeah, where have you seen her?" And I said, "In my room." And I was very casual about it. And my mom believes that I did see Our Lady in my room because I just was never a liar. I wasn't somebody who made stuff up, and I actually believe it only because I feel as if, um, given a lot of the things that I've experienced in my life, I can't explain why I clung to my faith, why I didn't doubt God in times when I think many people would have. Um, and I just have always felt that there has been this protective, I don't know, this just God's grace in an unusual way in my life, preserving me so often from my own stupidity or from things that I was experiencing. Um, I can't explain it. All of my siblings have at one time or another, except for one, left the church. And I mean, there have been times when I've struggled with doubt or whatever. We all have these times in our lives, I think, when we're tested. But I do think that God, through Our Lady, has preserved me in some way for whatever reason. I don't know the reason, and I don't remember it. Um, but I do believe it, and I consider it a real grace that I must have needed, and for that I am so grateful. And I want to read this. I remember once I could have sworn I audibly heard God's voice telling me to stop before I was about to commit a horrible sin I'd regret for the rest of my life. Wow. Praise be to God. Um, that or your guardian angel. oh, oh my goodness. I sneezed. That's the first time I've ever sneezed while I'm recording something. But Supreme Crusader, that is such a gift. If only we heard an audible voice every single time. Every single time we were about to do something terrible, wouldn't that be great? And then even more scary, because how many of us would listen to that voice, or would listen to that voice and then continue along our way? Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of turmoil in my life as a child. My parents divorced when I was pretty young, and my dad was an alcoholic and a philanderer, and there were a lot of things going on. Our house was in foreclosure. There was just and so much more. It's just I just thank God. I don't know how I came out of this alive, honestly. Um, I'm forever grateful for God's goodness in my life. He is just so abundant in his mercy and goodness and providence. And yeah, so I don't know. I just think mystical experiences, you don't need them for holiness, and they're not an indicator of holiness. Um, More often than not, I think they're just a great grace. I could be wrong, and this is where Nicholas can correct me, but yeah, I agree with him. The blessed are those who have not seen but have believed. It's a lot harder to believe when you haven't had those experiences. Thank you, Margot. I appreciate that. It's interesting because I just found some journals today um, from when I was younger, and a lot of those journals were pretty dark. A lot of wishing that I wasn't around anymore, and it was hard to look back on that and read it and realize that I was this poor child that really felt that way and really felt like the world would be better off without me existing in it. I'm not sure it's better for me being in here. I don't know, I'm just trying to do the best that I can to bring God into this world, um but I'm grateful to be here, and I just so believe that every single breath that we have is such a gift from God. I was sitting in adoration as a Protestant with my Catholic husband. I saw Christ appear in the Eucharist. I knew he was telling me I had a choice, but I had to make a choice to believe or not. Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool, Sally. Very connected to St. Thomas. Yeah. Well, you can't go wrong. Are you talking about St. Thomas Aquinas or St. Thomas the Apostle? I mean, either are really awesome. So you can't really go wrong with a doctor of the church or an apostle. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I have to finish this super warm beer. It was delicious when I first opened it a few hours ago. I realized you can't really stream and talk and drink at the same time. It doesn't really work that way. So this other beer that I grabbed is probably just going to go back in the fridge. Pro tip, offer every cough for a specific person as I sit here coughing. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Margot, when I get respiratory illness, it hangs in there forever. And often it escalates to the point where I'm coughing so hard that I'm like gagging. So I just hope that you're not coughing that hard because it's awful. And I hope that you're getting care that you need. If you have bronchitis, which it sounds like maybe you do, I don't know. Do you have a nebulizer? Do you have something, an inhaler or something? I don't know, Margot. I just want you to get better. Oh, so it's St. Thomas the Apostle. That's really awesome. That makes so much more sense. I don't know why it didn't occur to me when I first read that. Of course, St. Thomas the Doubter. Duh. I always love that when the priest holds up the Eucharist during Mass, and I always think, my Lord and my God, just like St. Thomas when he finally realized Christ truly was resurrected. Yeah, it is. There are so many right now that are sick. Yeah, you should go. You should go to the doctor, Margot. I want you to get better. I got 2 inhalers for different things, and that turned around my bronchitis very quickly so that it was bearable and I could at least sleep at night. So, Supreme Crusader, you're also sick, huh? Okay, so we need, everyone on this list. We're just going to pray through everyone here on the chat and hope that you guys all get better. Don't be stubborn. I'm stubborn too, but don't be stubborn. Do as I say and not as I do, Margot. I'm your mom. Not really. But I love you and I want you to get better. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry that you're sick too. That's not fun. Oh, good. This is super funny. I love that you guys, everyone knows each other. It's super fun. Okay. I think I'm going to have to call it quits, you guys. I honestly thought this was going to be like a 20-minute check-in. But I have really enjoyed talking to you guys. This was super fun. Maybe I'll have to do a late night show every once in a while. This was fun. yeah, this has been really good. If you guys please could make sure you smash the like button. Oh, Darren, you're gonna just suddenly come back in here and call me a quitter. I have 5 kids, and 2 of them still sleep in my bed, and my husband is on call, so he's working right now. Um, I will kiss sweet little baby Veronica. She is so much fun right now, you guys. She just turned a year old in this time that I've been sick. I know I said I was gonna go. I'm Minnesotan. I'm from the upper Midwest. Our Minnesota goodbyes last at least a half an hour. But oh, I love you guys too. Okay, so Veronica is super fun. I just have to say this. She just turned a year old. She started walking, and and I'm really looking forward to 18 months. Like, I'm not wishing this time away at all, but 18 months for a kid, for like toddlers, is my favorite. It is so much fun, and she is going to be hilarious. She already is hilarious, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I should have her on. I'll have her on next time. She'll probably be on my Apostles Screeds. So if you guys make sure, if you're not already, subscribe to my channel. And then when I go live for my Apostles Screeds on those Thursday afternoons, then I can you'll get a notification when I go live. And usually if I do an Apostles Screed, it's usually talking about current events and especially abortion. I've been an anti-abortion activist for over a decade now, and so that tends to be a common theme of my work, but especially those screeds, because abortion is just a scourge on the earth, and it needs to be done forever and ever. The end. Oh, fun! Yeah, this is super fun. It's fun age, but 18 months I think is my favorite kid age, like newborn and then 18 months, because they're hilarious. They're so much fun. They're like little drunk adults that don't know what's going on. They can't hardly walk. They're tripping all over the place, and they have so much attitude, and they can say so much more and communicate so much better. So it's just a ton of fun. They're very playful at 18 months. So I'm really looking forward. Oh, they are like a week. I feel like I should know that. I have the memory of a gnat or a goldfish, I'm pretty sure. I blame my thyroid disease, which is actually kind of true, but also, I'm sorry, Haley. I should know that. But anyway, okay. I will try and get Veronica on next time, especially on the Apostles' Creed. She's a lot of fun these days. Very busy and very grabby, so I have to keep her away from the mic more than ever now. And yeah, I'll have some really cool interviews being published soon. I'll be interviewing Dr. Mary Eberstadt next week. I have this interview with Mark and Frank DeVito's interview coming up here soon. And hopefully in like the summer, I'll have a really cool interview. I'm like praying. If you guys could pray for this really cool interview to happen, that would be awesome. I won't say what it is because it's going to be super sad if it doesn't pan out, but I've one that I'm hoping will come on. Okay, you guys. Yeah, it's a really cool time. It's so much fun. Darren, I'm quitting. I have to quit. I have to go to bed. So if you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe, share, follow me on all my socials. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I think I have a Facebook page. I don't post on there very often. You could also subscribe to emails. I would like to send more emails out because social media for me, if you're trying to be on social media less but would like to stay in touch, emails, I don't send out a lot. Maybe once a month. Maybe if I remember. But you can stay in touch with me there. And if you want to contact me, there's a contact form on my website. I've been getting a lot of inquiries about different things. If you have a question or have an idea of an episode, you can always send me an email. I really enjoy getting emails from you guys and messages. It's a lot of fun for me. So feel free to head to my website, integratedangela.com. You can also donate there or become a patron on Patreon if you want to support my work monthly for as little as $5 a month. Thank you, Margot. Keep talking. I have to stop. I love you guys so much, but I have to stop. I have to go to bed. I have to do my nightly examen. So I got to talk to Jesus and go to bed. So Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour and 15 minutes, which is crazy. You guys are amazing, and I'll definitely chat with you guys soon. God bless you.